What's going on, family? Hello, family. I hope you guys are doing so well today. Tonight I am going to go ahead and kick things off this week with a Q&A, which I'm very excited about. Um, Again, I will be dropping the schedule tonight so you guys know when to expect what. I'm really excited about the weeks coming ahead. I hope you guys are doing good. But let's get things on the way. Underway, technically, is what I'm supposed to say, I guess, right? But we're gonna go ahead and conduct our Q&A, and let me let you know the rules. You can ask any question that you like, as long as it's pertaining to you and yours. So your family, your communication, your healing, um, your spirituality. You can also ask a hypothetical question. You can ask something surrounding someone you love. The only thing that you cannot ask a question about is pertaining to me personally, like me, my family, anything like that. You can ask about the lifestyle of polygamy. I'll do what I can to answer any questions related for you, as long as it's not about me specifically. This is a good opportunity to vet me as a life coach. I want to say thank you because last Q&A, I actually got a new client, and the Q&A before that, I got a new client. So I'm blessed and super in abundance, and I'm so grateful. I'm excited for the things developing, and this is the time. If you know anybody who needs a therapist, psychologist, and they might not be comfortable, they're looking for somebody that they can, be more at home with, possibly someone that's more cost efficient. Send them my way. You can drop their name, tag them in the comments. This Q&A is an opportunity for you can ask questions without having to worry about cost. But if you want to escalate that and get a one-on-one session with me, you're more than welcome to do so. All you have to do is DM me, and I'll walk you through the process and get you booked for an appointment. Again, the rules for the Q&A is you can ask anything pertaining to you and yours, whatever's on your mind, and I'll do my best to answer it. Please try your best to keep your questions straight and to the point as possible. It's really hard for me to have to ask question after question after question to get to the point of what you need from me, because there's other people that want to ask questions too. I will be on here for an hour. So we will be logging off at 9:30 Eastern. And is it Alina? Is that how you say it? I apologize if I didn't say that correctly. The question is, what tips would you give for those transitioning from monogamy 2 years to polygyny? Um, The tips would be start your polygyny lifestyle. Elena. Okay, thank you so much. I apologize. The main tips are to leave what you remember about monogamy at the door, because your biggest conflict is going to be comparing the two, comparing polygyny with monogamy. And they do have similarities, but there is a big difference, obviously. So your brain is going to want to hang on to what you remember. And what society has taught you is the right way to be loved, the right way to be shown affection, so on and so forth. So you have to get more technological, if you will, or more detailed about what you want, because you will have a front row seat to potentially how your partner treats someone else. And if you can't be secure in your own relationship, then you will always be comparing. You will always have a reason to feel like someone's one upping you, or you'll feel less. You'll always be in a competitive mindset. Now, this is true in monogamy as well, because there are, I'm sure every woman can tell you at least of a female friend that feels like she always has to one up you every time you tell her something that you're proud about or you've achieved when it comes to your relationship and what's going on between you and your man. You see what I'm saying? So that same person would not do well in polygyny, because she's always comparing her experience with the women around her. It doesn't really matter if you're monogamous or practicing polygyny. If you are consistent with doing that, you're going to make your experience way more difficult than it has to be. You're going to spend your time like, Keith proposed to April last week. They only been together for 2 years. Yet here I am, 5 years, but we ain't married. And in your mind, you think that means something. That means something because Keith proposed to April and they only been together for 2 years, but you've been together with your man for 5 years. So it means that Keith loves April more than your man love you. If you are in that mindset, you will always find a problem. There will always be a problem, because everything to you is a competitive sport. Everything to you is an indicator of you being treated unfairly in some way. What you have to focus on is, what do I want? What do I need? What have I communicated to the person that I'm with? Am I getting those things? If you can check those boxes, what your sister wife got going on with your mutual husband is not your business. If she's not satisfied about something, or he's not doing something for her that you feel like he should be doing for her, that's none of your business. She has to start perfecting her communication, talking to him about what she needs, and he has to start answering the call. Both of those things have nothing to do with you. Your responsibility is your relationship. And creating boundaries will be the other thing. Creating boundaries for your mutual husband, creating boundaries for your sister wife. I don't have conversations in regards to any pleasure or lack thereof regarding mutual husbands. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's nothing I need to know. If you're happy with your relationship, cool. If you have things that you have to work on in your relationship, do that. I don't necessarily need to be included in every move within your relationship. I will know whether you guys are okay and not okay via the energy in the room. You see what I'm saying? And even then, I just have to understand that it's something off balance. That's not my cue to make it my business and get involved, because that's how you keep jealousy at bay. That's how you keep drama from ensuing as well. And we don't think about it that way. But if you and your sister wife are always talking and you're like, that's a cute necklace. And you're like, oh girl, our man got it for me. You may not think nothing of it, because in your mind, y'all sister wives, y'all should be able to have that type of conversation. What if he don't get her gifts? What if she is competitive in her spirit? What if she's the type of person to compare, you got a gift and she didn't get a gift? You see what I'm saying? Now you didn't just started something. You didn't even realize you started something. She now about to go ask him why she don't have no necklace. You see what I'm saying? And you may not have intended to cause the ripple. You were feeling good about the fact that you got something. But somebody tells you have a beautiful necklace. You say, oh, thank you. It's not necessary for you to be like, girl, my man got it. It's a low-key brag. You see what I'm saying? So if you're dealing with your sister wife and that's a gift from your husband or whatever, you say thank you. Keep it baseline. It's not necessary. Oh, girl, yeah, he got that for me he got that for our anniversary. What if they didn't do anything for their anniversary? What if what she got she wasn't happy with? You see what I'm saying? You don't realize, some of that stuff that you feel like we typically do with our homegirls. Sister wife is a completely different thing. And you have to really think about what you want to be up for discussion and what you don't want to be up for discussion, because women process these things differently, and having a sister wife does not change that. So you have to be mindful of those sorts of things, and just be respectful. And we don't realize that when our with our homegirls, we are showing out. When we like, girl, look at my ring, my man got me. It is a low-key stunt. It is a brag. You don't think of it that way, because amongst friends, y'all do it to each other, and y'all one up each other, and it's just a understandable nature amongst women. But when it's in your home, that could be a problem. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to go home with your homegirls. You don't have to hear and feel the aftermath of you bragging about your ring and how much it costs. See, your homegirl husband got to hear that. Your homegirl boyfriend got to hear that. When she take that home, she feeling some type of way, you all in her face, showing off your ring. Now, if you're conducting you're conducting yourself in that same energy, and you go home with this person, you live with these people, it could unravel the same way, but now it's in your house around your kids. You see what I'm saying? And you don't think about that kind of stuff until you're in it. So that's the major thing, is that if you're whether you're in the same home or not, you have to deal with these people every day. So you have to be mindful of that and be respectful. A lot of the stuff that we do that's just fun and, talking a little ish there, this and that, between homegirls, will cause some drama in a polygynous home, especially if you're dealing with somebody who might be insecure, who compares, who is still trying to find their place in the union. They don't know if they're enough, that kind of thing. And women deal with insecurities because society has taught us that we are competitive beings. We're supposed to be competitive, especially for a man. And there are a lot of women that can't shake that psyche. So if you're blessed enough to have a sister wife that don't view the world like that, and y'all can have those type of conversations, that is just amazing. But it's rare. You know what I mean? It's very, very rare to be able to do that without putting a bad taste in your sister wife's mouth at the same time. So you have those type of conversations with your homegirls. You see what I'm saying? And be respectful of the union. You have to be mindful of the discussions you have. And it's kind of interesting too, because around, with polygyny, like people like to ask, are you guys besties? Do you guys go everywhere together? And you become good friends, you become family, you become respectful of one another. But we're going to keep it completely honest. You know what I mean? There is the love of your life in between y'all. You see what I'm saying? Like, you guys have a mutual love of your life. So yes, there's some things that are better left unsaid out of respect. You know what I mean? Because women will still be women to some extent. You know what I mean? And people like to think because polygyny is a lifestyle and two women are accepting of that lifestyle, that we don't have nature still. Women very much have nature still. You might see something or feel something, and I don't really like that, and that felt some type of way. That doesn't go away because you're practicing polygyny. But if you are mature, you can acknowledge what is something that needs to be discussed in a respectful and healthy manner, and what you have to deal with within yourself, because it has nothing to do with anybody but what's going on in your head, and you driving yourself crazy. Somebody healthy can discern the difference. Somebody toxic will make all of that your problem, make all of that the husband's problem, and make the home toxic. And that's not what you want. Hello, Teresa. Hello, Amanda. Hello, Dream Girl. How you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. I did say hello to Terry. I apologize, I ran on a little bit. Next question. Keep in mind we are on till 9:30. My baby had a late nap, so he should be waking up any moment. Next question, you guys. Next question. When it comes to polygamy, I've been saying that word so many times over the last couple of days that now my brain won't even let me say it right. Polygyny. I've been saying it wrong for like 48 hours. Like, I don't know what it's called. I'm like, I know how to say it. I don't know why it won't come out right. Polygyny. Um, there's so much confusion about it. It's not as difficult as people make it seem. It's about being around mature people, having mature views, and being accountable for yourself, knowing the having a clarity about where you end and the next person begins. And women in our existence as a whole, we have a tendency to be in everybody's business for every reason possible. We rationalize why we need to know everything about everybody. And that's not a good quality to have when it comes to polygyny, because if you, or let's just say this, if you're going to have that personality type, you need to understand that your discernment, your alignment, your emotional regulation capability has to be on point. Because the more information you collect, the more you observe, the more you invite people to listen to, to tell you their business, the higher the chances that your emotions will be disturbed. So things like not being nosy, not being in everybody's business, not needing to um, be aware of anything and everything, making sure you have clear and communication with your spouse. Um, weren't those things are very key in relationships. And women, we don't handle ourselves like that on a regular day. We know who slept with who, she just had babies, you know what I mean? And oh yeah, she got 3 kids, but yeah, her that's her husband, but he not the daddy for this one and that one. Why is that your business? Why can you report that to somebody else? You know what I mean? So like as a woman, you have to step into your maturity and learn to not be in the business all the time. And giving your opinion all the time too. Like women are very opinionated. Like we love to just lend our 2 cents everywhere, and everywhere is not applicable. Everywhere is not applicable at all. Even when it comes to like polygyny, you may enter your relationship and have a specific preference for how a woman should engage in a man, or how a man should engage in a woman. Your co-wife and your husband may not operate nothing like you and your mutual husband. That's not for you to critique their relationship against yours, like they got some working on this and working on that to do. If she's satisfied and he's satisfied, mind your business. You see what I'm saying? Like, we want to fix things. You might see her make a face, or say him, see him make a face, and you want to get in the business and resolve. I want to play, life coach and help you guys be better. That's not your place. Let them handle their business. They have to step up their communication, their transparency. They have to do the work. And unless you and her are romantic and all of you guys are romantic with each other, there's no reason for you to make that something you need to be involved in. Women as mothers, as wives, as the people who keep the system running as it relates to cleaning, cooking, laundry, and all of that. Sis, you got enough on your plate. And don't let you have a job too. You have enough on your plate without trying to play mediator in someone else's relationship, trying to play facilitator, trying to collect data on every last thing that doesn't involve you. And women are proficient in having that as a character. And so when you enter into polygyny, taking that into polygyny is not going to be a good look at all. At some point, the man is going to get stressed out by the behavior, and either he's going to get rid of somebody, or he's going to start putting his foot down in a way that you don't like. And he shouldn't have to. You should be able to regulate yourself. That should be something within your capability before you're saying, I want to share my life, share my existence with another woman. If you have no alignment and regulation skills for yourself, you in for a rude awakening, because there is a difference. You may not think that there is, but there is a difference. And conquering yourself is majority of the battle. There's going to be parts of you that activate that you didn't know were possible because you've primarily been in monogamy. You know what I mean? You don't realize how much you depend on the exclusivity to feel good about yourself until you know what I mean, you're in a situation where you have the same, a mutual husband. Now you have to still feel special in that situation. And you still have to find that and be okay with that and be confident in that. And a lot of women can't make the transition because they don't feel like they're special just because of the existence of someone else. And that can cause problems just for that thought by itself. What's going on, Ona? Hello, hello. I got a little over 30 minutes left, you guys. We dry this evening, huh? No questions today. I just had the one, and I was dragging out my response just to wait for another to pop up. What's going on, Miss Shantae? How you doing? I appreciate you guys joining us for tonight's Q&A. Again, you guys can ask whatever question you want as long as it's pertaining to you and yours. It is not pertaining to me. You can ask about motherhood. You can ask about polygamy. You can ask about being a parent, being a single mom, being in a marriage, communication, healing, development, um, whatever you feel like is on your mind. This is a great opportunity to vet me as a life coach and retain my services and save on the cost. But you also can book me as well. All you have to do is DM me and I will help take you through the process to get you booked. That is great, Shantae. I'm glad to hear that all things are great. Um, I can't remember where my husband got the information from, but he was saying that it's customary to ask, how are the children, instead of saying, how are you? Because back in the day, they discerned that the adults' wellness or happiness was a reflection of the children's well-being. So instead of saying, how are you? They will say, how are your children? And I thought that was a beautiful thing. So I said, I'm still in that. I think that that's beautiful because there are a lot of people that live well and they live better sometimes than their children. I think that to say that gives a person a moment of reflection to say, how are your children? Like, it makes you go, wow, like, you're not going to ask about me. And it also reminds you that the position is to be selfless, that everything is not focused on you. Once you become a parent, to remind you that, how you are is dictated by how your children are. And I thought that was just really beautiful. So for you guys that remember, please remind me if I don't remember. I really want to get in the habit of saying that, because especially with us being women, primarily this is typically a women's podcast. I think it's beautiful for us to engage in that as women because we are life givers. I think that it's very important for us to remind ourselves too that this a good portion of the state of our well-being is reliant on the well-being of our offspring. And I think that that's a beautiful way to touch bases with each other as mothers. I think that that's just a beautiful thing. That's what my father always said. How are the children? Yeah, well, I think that's beautiful. And my husband was just telling me about that like less than a week ago, and he said it again the other day. And I said, I forgot about that. I said I was gonna take that, and I forgot. But I promise you, it's gonna stick one of these days. And I want it to be a major part of what we do on this podcast to just develop something more evolutionary to inspire growth amongst women. Ona says, okay, my question. I don't know what that was. I'm divorced, and I always find myself in a conversation defending that fact that I don't want to have a man and I'm happy with myself. It's frustrating. I'm not sure what question I'm adding to the conversation, but I'm just venting. Um, well, I would reflect on why do you find yourself needing to defend it? Make the statement and that's it. I'm divorced, not looking to get remarried, not looking to turn in my singles card, period. That's it. When somebody asks you, well, what's the problem? Nothing is choice. They want to keep pressing. Look, I have no, you know what I mean? I have no intention on explaining why as an adult I made a decision. That's just where I am. And leave them to their own devices. I you have to keep in mind too, and this is all in, mental, awareness, is that society has created this perspective that a woman needs a partner. And while in some aspects I agree with that, I also believe it is possible for a woman to not care about the reasons why she should and still don't. I can respect both lanes. Um, Historically, the reason for a woman having a husband is so she can be under someone's care. And this is the part that we don't really think about until the time becomes now. See, right now, when you're able to work, you're able to make money, you're able to take care of yourself financially, it's not even a thought. But the truth is, eventually we will age. Eventually, our children will leave us and go to college or start their own families, and they will likely move away. And eventually your body will start to decline. And while your body is starting to decline, society would hope that you have someone there with you, that you're not alone. And so, specifically towards women, society looks at that as a very sad situation. Essentially, when a woman is saying, I don't want a man and I don't need one, she's saying, I'm okay with dying alone. I'm okay with leaving this life and being by myself when I need to be changed, when I can't feed myself. I'd rather be surrounded by doctors, and don't get me wrong. The truth is, we can honestly end up in that situation anyway. But you increase your chances of not being alone by being married. You increase your chances of not being alone by having a tribe that you're a part of or a village that you're a part of. And society believes that it's in a woman's best interest to have a lifetime partner. So in old age, she's not alone. And so I understand why they view the things that they view it, but I also believe that a woman is entitled to make that decision, whether she factored in the end game or not. She's an adult. And if she wants to adult, if her way of adulting looks like her singing that mantra, I don't need a man and don't want one, you're going to mess around and find out. And you're grown enough to make that decision. So, being that it's your choice, whether somebody disagrees with it or not, it's nothing you should have to defend. It's a decision and that's it. So I think that you're aware of how that looks. And somewhere inside, you feel the need to explain it because that's how people see it. But the truth is, you have to honestly not care about that. You have to know that that's how people see it and still want to do it anyway. Otherwise, you need to be with somebody, because if you're still trying to fight for the explanation, technically you're not all the way convinced that this is what you want to do. Because when you're in a place of peace and you have made your decision and that's it, that's all, there's literally no reason to explain. You don't have to like it. And I'm there when it comes to polygyny. I get it all the time. Like, I don't understand why you're doing this. You too pretty to, and oh my gosh, and he has his cake and eat it too. I get a million and one reasons why I'm not doing the right thing. And I say the same thing over and over. I don't know why you're so pressed about a life that does not belong to you. It's not necessary for me to need to explain. Now, I do talk about poly because there are other people that are interested in the lifestyle, and there are people that are legitimately curious what would create a circumstance where a person would be comfortable leading the lifestyle. For those two reasons, I don't have a problem with answering questions. But if your intention is to try and talk me out of it, I need you to respect my boundaries. I'm an adult. And this direction does not change until I change direction. Nothing and no one is going to make that decision for me. And you can't be provoked in that space. You can't get upset in that space. Now, you may get upset if someone's disrespectful or they think they have the right to call you a name or something like that because of their perspective. But even then, when you're in a place of peace and you realize that those type of projections come with ignorance, it doesn't even really make you mad anymore. It just makes you feel sad for people, and I think that's the downside of doing what I do or even living the lifestyle that I live, because even when it comes to something like polygyny or being divorced and not wanting to get back in a relationship and just looking forward to being single, those are very unconventional lifestyles and they go against the grain of society. So people are going to look at you like there's a problem, and they are going to try and shame you. They're going to try and guilt you. They're going to try and sway you to conform to what's normal in their line of thinking. And the downside is, because it's not your line of thinking, because you're comfortable in your own skin, you will always rub people the wrong way because you represent an experience that takes people against the grain, against what's normal, against the unison of humanity. You see what I'm saying? And most people don't like that very much. Just like running into someone who's not religious or they're agnostic or atheists. People get really turned up about that. In reality, people are entitled to do whatever the hell they want to do. You know what I mean? And you can't make a decision for them. You can't control what they do. You can't get mad and call them all type of names to change their mindset. Essentially, any of those reactions other than, okay, I understand, I can respect that, is controlling. You're literally trying to change the trajectory of someone else's life, even though they're looking you in your face, telling you that this is what I want to do. That's called controlling. And people don't look at it that way, but that's what it is. When you're trying to reroute somebody else's standing on something because you don't agree with it, you don't even deal with the outcome at all. You see what I'm saying? So it is going to be a bumpy ride, and you're in a place that's going against the grain. So unfortunately, society doesn't do too well when it comes to things that don't fit expectations for society. They tend to go after it with their claws out. So just expect that, especially from men. They will talk to you like you plumb crazy just for moving without needing that masculine energy. You know what I mean? And it just is. When I moved from California to the South, I got that a lot. Like, you moved out here by yourself? Yeah. Where's your dad? Around. And your husband? Not married. So you just moved out here by yourself? Yeah. What's the problem? Nothing. I just didn't want to live where I was living anymore. I was grown. I had the money, so I did it. But I got that question for probably the first 2 to 3 years of my time here, because I had my car, I had my place, I had a good job, and was living my best life and was feeling really good. But when I told people where I was from and told them that, I'm just kind of doing my thing, people were like, oh my gosh. And you see it in the comments on social media now too. They're like, you don't really see, you know, them around their people, this and that and the other. And it's like, why is that even a requirement? Like, number one, you have people, just because I'm on camera does not mean my family want to be on camera, and I don't have to record them to prove to you I have a relationship with my family. But most of my family is a distance away, so we stay in touch, you know, and people, even of women, like they require us, like you can't just be away. Like, where's your dad, where's your mom, what do your mom and your dad think? The idea of a woman making decisions for herself without her parents, and she's not under the leadership of her husband, is like, oh my goodness, how can you live in the world without your parents and you don't have a husband to guide you? That's society's perspective, and it's strange. And going through that for those couple years, I felt so insulted. Like, what am I, chopped liver? Like, I didn't know you guys really view women as this incapable. But it's true. It's true. Right on. Still new for me. I agree with you. The social views, I'm really offended for are offending for me. It's the peace I fell in love with. Thank you so much. To hear it felt like a hug. Absolutely, love. And it's just the truth. Like, it doesn't matter what type of lifestyle you live. If you're going against the grain, you will be met with hostility. It doesn't matter. If you don't believe in religion anymore, you practice polygyny, you divorced and you don't want a man, you're walking around here talking about you don't want kids, people will talk to you like you're crazy, especially if you're a woman, because our path has been written for us. We were taught that our value is determined by us being chosen by a man, us having children. Like, if you really think about it, even being a wife, um nobody looks at how well you take care of yourself and say, oh my goodness, you're a good wife and mother. You being a good wife and mother is contingent on what you do for husband, what you do for kids. You going to the gym, you staying on a good diet, that kind of stuff, just independently. Nobody praises you for that and says you're a good wife and mother, or pat you on the back. Like, our validation comes from our outpour, pouring into our children, pouring into our husband. If we don't have those things, it's almost like society, or if even if like our beauty is not up to standard, society is like, well, what are you doing with your life? Like, you don't have a husband, you don't have kids, you're like okay looking, like, what's going on? you know and it's sad, because that's what creates the competitive nature amongst the women, is being held to such a tight standard. But when you're a free thinker and you no longer subject yourself to that standard, it flusters people even more, because now they can't confine you. Society is very big on shaming and guilt tripping you to get you to revert back to what they want you to do. That's why names like 304 and all of that stuff exist, is to keep you in line. If you don't want to be called that, then you'll behave. If you don't want to be called a pick me, you'll act like this. You know what I mean? So it will always be a stigma in that way. You just have to get accepting of the fact that people that live by that structure, unfortunately, no shade, but are relatively ignorant towards what you're trying to accomplish, because they're not thinking or seeing with the same lens that you are. That was a beautiful question, though. I mean, well, you didn't really ask a question, but just you being in that space says a lot. Like, and it's really hard to find like minds when you're a person that's in that space, and people won't understand it. They're gonna be like, you're gonna be alone when you leave this earth, and make it sound so depressing. And you also could get married and not make it to see that time in your life too. So, a choice is a choice. All right, y'all. We have 20 minutes left. 20 minutes. Any more questions for me? And hello, if I didn't say hello, Willa. I think I did, but apologies if I did not. I read your comment and I don't know if I spoke directly to you to say hello. 20 minutes, y'all. 20 minutes. You guys had some good questions this evening, though. It seemed like it's a kind of relaxed evening, though, which I'm all for it because I was kind of in a bit of a relaxed kind of mood myself. Ooh, let me fix this. There we go. I think that I wouldn't consider myself a feminist um, because I agree with certain roles that apply to the existence of women. But I do agree with a woman's ability to make her own choice. What I typically rally against is women that argue for their own wants and needs at the expense of others. Like, women who chase careers and they're saying, like, the concept that a woman can be a career woman, a wife, and a mom and hold all three of those in balance. I disagree. I think that something will always take a hit, and that's just attributed to it's a lot to do in a day. Having a child, being a mother, it carries a lot of responsibility. I don't call it a job because jobs I can't stand, and I love being a mother. So I wouldn't even use that label to associate what I do for my son versus what I do when I'm getting paid by a stranger. Even a wife, I wouldn't say, being a wife is work. Being a mother is work. I'm like, no, it's a responsibility and it's a huge responsibility. Um, and yes, that responsibility still exists when you're sick. It still exists when you're feeling depressed. It exists when, you have to pay bills. It doesn't care about your personal stuff. True. I don't think that that makes it work. I don't think that that makes it a job. I think that that makes it a responsibility, and it's a responsibility that you are not forced to take on. So I don't like seeing women voluntarily get married, voluntarily have children, and then complain about the responsibility it entails and say, I had to give up my life. I'm sorry, but children come at a cost. Being a wife comes at a cost. And yeah, like, and I'm not saying that it should be a whole bunch, but it's pretty significant. You know what I mean? If you're gonna be a wife, you have to maintain your husband. It just is what it is. Like, and a lot of women behave like they don't know that, and there's this whole victim mentality around that. Like, if you have a husband, you want him to provide, get your hair and nails done, make X amount of dollars a year, be devoted only to you. You have all these requirements, and you don't think him meeting those requirements require you to cook, you to clean, you to be intimate in a decent enough amount and take care of the kids like that you have, so he can continue to shoot for the stars and increase your provision. That's crazy. You know what I mean? And sacrifices will be made. Like, you hear women say, well, my husband helps with the kids. He does dishes on occasion. He helps clean the house and stuff like that. And that's amazing. That's amazing if you have a husband that does that. But the truth is, a man that does that is taking energy from increasing your provision increasing your retirement portfolio to help you with something at home. As a new mom, are there aspects of motherhood that you didn't understand before and change your view of that now? Honestly, no. Um, because like I said, I feel like everything is a sacrifice. Like, yeah, you have those days where you're like, um, you may want someone, you may want your husband to be more engaged with cleaning and stuff like that. And you may feel that way. But the truth is, would I rather you clean, or would I rather you make enough money for us to upgrade to a new home? For my son to have opportunities that, you know what I mean? Like, cause it's like women, you want him to help clean, but you also want him to have the finances to support anything you want to do and anything your children want to do. What's going on, Lakeisha? And that's unrealistic. And it's like the purpose of you being a wife and mother is to take some of that off his hands so he can put energy into increasing the financial portfolio and increasing your revenue. So when it's time to retire, both you guys can just sit at home and possibly take the vacations and travel the world. But if you want now time, you want him to be hands on at home, you want him never going anywhere. And it's like you have to think about the requirement list that women want. They want you to make enough money to take care of everything financially. Ideally, they would like to not work as much as possible. They want you to financially cover everything, but then they want you to help with the kids and the daily house duties at the same time, right? Then they also don't want to sleep with you on demand, right? Then, you know, they also don't want to have to pay for their own hair and pay for their own nails, right? And it's like, and then the minute that you can't financially cover something, they want to call you broke. And it's crazy. It's like love, everything doesn't exist all at the same time. Like, let's be honest, a woman that pursues a career, she has to put her kids in daycare because husband is going to work too. You can't understand that your wants require sacrifice. For every want, you must sacrifice. They want too much too quick, but they can't produce the same things that they expect. Exactly. And my thing is like, let's be realistic. Like, yes, I can say being a mother full time, it feels like it's not enough time in the day to get everything done. But guess what? If I had to choose between getting, let's say, and my husband is very hands-on with our son. So if I'm in a space mentally where I'm like, I feel like there's more that could be done, how could you not also assess that more that you're demanding, you're saying, take away from um you pouring into work? Because women do that too. You're always at work and you don't go to the soccer games, you don't go to the recital, you miss the play. So I gotta make enough money. I gotta not ask you to be intimate too often. I gotta help around the house. And then I can't work so much that I miss the things that you think are important. Then I gotta remember to take you out. Then I got to remember our anniversary and buy you something nice. I got to celebrate you on Valentine's Day too. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, then you want exclusivity. You don't want him looking at other women. Does that make sense? So it's like you want to be a wife, but you don't want to do what maintains a husband. And to me, that's ridiculous. You want him to finance your life and pay for everything, but you also don't want him to work too much. You want him to be a hands-on father and be present for everything that happens with the kids, but you also don't want him to tell you he ain't got it when your car break down. You want him to protect you and, you know what I mean, maintain assets so you don't have to worry about things financially. But when he come to you for his attention and affection, You want to ration him out like he's somebody's child. Then when he says, I'm doing all of this and I can't even, I ain't been with I ain't been with my wife in 3 weeks. We ain't been together in a month. The excuses kick in. Well, she just had a baby. She's so tired. All the housework, the mental load. Girl, you don't know nothing about a mental load till you're responsible for an entire household. You don't even have that responsibility. You just have to take care of your portion. The man has to literally be responsible for the entire household. If he fails, there is no house. Because as a mom, especially with young children, you can't carry all that by yourself. You'll fall depressed in the first 365 days trying to carry multiple children, a large home by yourself, a full-time job on top of that. He was a stay-at-home dad, but wanted me to take care of him as passionately as I took care of the kids, but didn't want to put the work in to do the mental love and health part. I went through bad postpartum. I'm sorry to hear that you had postpartum, and I understand how heavy that can be, but I also do know postpartum is for a time. And don't get me wrong, it could be for a long time sometimes. But yeah, absolutely. Even in those circumstances, I think that it sounds crazy because I'm a woman too. So I've heard these conversations as well. But we genuinely underestimate the contributions of our men, even in that case, being a stay-at-home dad. She wants, he wants you to take care of him as passionately as you do the kids. Most men feel that way because that's your first love. You know what I mean? The children come after the husband. You know what I mean? And it sounds crazy and emotionally, like me thinking that way, like the first time I really put it into perspective, like it doesn't sound right. This person can do for himself. The child cannot do for their self. It feels like that's not correct. But the truth is, if you don't take care of him, the whole house suffers. It's not the same way if you don't take care of the child. Now, I'm not saying don't take care of the child. I'm saying by comparison. So when we hear our man say, take care of me the way you take care of the child, it feels some type of way when you hear it. And what you don't understand is he should be taking care of you first. You should be taking care of him first, because without you guys being healthy, the kids do not prosper at all. And I think when women start having babies, they make the man extremely secondary. You could do that for yourself. And, you got hands. Start getting real funny style. You stop taking care of yourself. You stop focusing on the things that he may need. Even when you have a child, like when you have a child, you focus like tunnel vision on your baby to the point to where you could barely tell he in the room half the time. And we feel offended for a man to say, look at me, I'm over here. And the truth is, he requires just as much from you. And you wouldn't feel it because you're in your own body, but you require just as much from him. It doesn't feel that way. It feels like everything's coming from me. But you don't account for how you require from him. And then the same is true when we talk about the fathers too. Like we're required emotionally. We're required emotionally frequently. What we don't realize and what we don't feel is how much fathers are needed financially. The way we are needed by our parents are not the same. So where we feel fatigued because we're doing a lot of the holding and the changing diapers and the laundry and the baths and the rocking to sleep and all of that. And dads aren't typically needed for that portion. But when they get old enough to start wanting to wrestle and wanting to play, most of the time the kids don't want to wrestle and play with you. He get all of that, and that requires a lot of physical stamina to be able to swing the kids around, do it again and do it again, do it again. The only difference is that women's responsibility comes first, because the babies have to be nurtured, they have to be breastfed, they need the emotional bonding, because our responsibility is to teach emotional intelligence and emotional regulation and empathy and all of that. That's in the beginning. Once they have that package, now they have to learn the structure and consequences package, and that's daddy's space. So when they start, pushing boundaries and exercising their strength and saying no and that kind of stuff, dad starts stepping in more to say, we don't do that in this house. And that's his portion of the contribution. When you take care of the kids, you're physical with the kids. When he takes care of the kids, he's the one that covers the clothes and, tuition and buying the car and fixing the car and oil changes and stuff like that. And his portion lasts substantially longer than our portion as the women. As our kids get older, they get more capable. So eventually they can take out the trash. Eventually they can do dishes. Eventually they can sweep. And as they get more capable, our load decreases, dad's increases. And we don't notice that that's how it works. So during the early stages, we're like ready to pull our hair out because we're like, why aren't you doing anything? But once they get old enough, you're going to be the one kind of essentially chilling and just kind of going, what did your dad say? That's what your father said. He said this, and that's just what it is, because now it's his domain to regulate the children, to structure the children, to give them boundaries. And yeah, you will participate in that, a little bit, obviously, but that's how the structure works. And in the middle of it, when you're the one getting up in the middle of the night, you feel like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. But it would be more if, and don't get me wrong, moms are doing it. I'm speaking for myself. I'm lucky enough that I didn't have to get up in the middle of the night and then turn around and go to work. So it was easy for me to say, okay, I'm the one that gets up, because when he gets up, he has to go make money. You see what I'm saying? And so the women that have that type of dynamic where they're stay at home, they understand the purpose for it. And so postpartum is a thing. But again, postpartum doesn't last your whole relationship. Postpartum is a space in time. And yes, he does need to cover you. I always say that when you're pregnant, the mom's responsibility is to take care of the child. The father's pregnancy is taking care of the mom. But that's typically how the structure of the family works anyway. Mother takes care of kids, father takes care of mom, because mom, she pours out onto everybody. She takes care of husband, she takes care of kids. If nobody's looking out for her, eventually she will fold because she's not going to be in good health. If husband doesn't remind her to get some rest, doesn't, ask her, did she eat today, rub her back when she's aching, she'll be less efficient and less effective the next day, the next week, the next month. But the same is true for dad. If he's going to work and he's coming home and she's not speaking life into him, she's not telling him he's doing a good job, she's not affirming him, he will be less effective and less efficient the next day. So a lot of us as women feel like our job is substantial, and it is, but it's for a short time. And as women, we have to be responsible not only for having children, but how many children we have. You know what I mean? It's not something that's being forced upon us to have 3 and 4 children and they're all within a year of each other. That's a decision. You know what I mean? After the first one should be a wake up call. I just had that conversation on live not too long ago. People were like, "Are you ready to have another baby?" I'm like, "No." And I wouldn't even think that far until my son's at least walking. Like, that's entirely too close together. My son is still in the stage where he needs me for everything. I would not want to have two babies that need me for everything at the same time. I want my first child to be showing some type of craving for independence and on that type of mission to where he's increasing his independency gradually before I'm ready to bring another child into this world. And a lot of women have their babies back to back. And then when they see the demand, they get upset. But he still has to go to work. Nothing has changed from having the first child. He still has to go to work. He now is required to have more money come in because this new baby is coming in. The baby need clothes, baby need diapers, might need formula. Formula ain't cheap. You see what I'm saying? So for you, it's like I just had a baby and you're going through postpartum. And I can only imagine what that's like because I did not go through postpartum, but I've heard a lot about it and read a lot about it. And that's some heavy stuff. But at the same time, if he does not go to work, you'll be going through a lot more than postpartum. You'll be losing your home. You know what I mean? Not being able to afford daycare and a bunch of other stuff. He has to leave you in the care of your mom, if you have sisters, if he has sisters, and leave you in the care of your tribe and your family because he still has to go make money and be prepared to financially support the new baby you guys just had. He can't lounge around. And we want the extra nurture from our husbands, but their job, don't get me wrong, affection is a good thing, but the way they nurture their family is by being proactive financially, by increasing their financial portfolio, by making sure they have an abundance of provision. That's how they love their family. They don't love their family the same way we do. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they don't kiss their kids and say, I love you. That's very much included. But I'm saying, as far as planting seeds, women are the ones that do more of the kiss the boo boo and let me give you your medicine. We do the caregiving. Men secure. That's what we depend on them for, to secure us. Men lean on us for nurture. The same is true with the kids. Men structure the children, women nurture the children. And as long as we don't have that understanding, we will always expect something different from men than what they're supposed to be doing. And we will always shame them for not showing up the way we want them to show up. And that's an error on our part because we don't understand the roles and what they're here for. If you happen to have a husband that is proficient in being financially capable and also extremely nurturing and extremely hands-on with the kids, like my husband's like that, complete blessing. But I promise you, he's the only one I know, only one I've ever met that's like that. That's including my own father. Don't get me wrong. My father loves me. I love him, but he wasn't an affectionate guy. But he went and made the money. You see what I'm saying? I got all the nurture from my mom, like a regular, like the traditional blueprint of a family. And my husband, on the other hand, is very hands-on. He could take a test on his kids and he will pass it. But he's also a very good provider. That doesn't come by often. You know what I mean? Most men and women are capable in one area. They're either the nurturer or they can go out here and make money. The women that go out and make money, they tend to be overly focused in making money. Kids spend way too much time in daycare and they're not getting the nurture and emotional intelligence that they require to be fully developed emotionally. It doesn't mean that they can't go out and go to college, doesn't mean they can't get married, doesn't mean they can't have children. They could do all of that. But if you notice, looking out into the world, looking at TikTok, looking at all these reels, people are emotionally unstable. Who's responsible for emotional intelligence when it comes to development? Mom. So it's like, this is not a situation where I'm trying to throw shade at women, but it's just the truth. Just like when you see a person that lacks discipline, when they lack discipline, they likely did not have a father in their life, or their father was a poor demonstration of discipline. The same is accurate. It's not about shading and condemning women, but we deposit something specific in our home, something specific in our children. And if we do things that are outside of our role, our actual role will be sacrificed in its place. And we can't afford to do that. Men need to provide. If he's spending his time trying to nurture in the way that you're nurturing, his provision will be low. A woman is supposed to nurture. She decides she wants to work and join the husband in provision. The nurture from the mom towards the family will be low. That just is what it is. So it's like when we're having these conversations, people get upset when they hear the reality of it. You have to think about it. Even a single mom, if she's a single mom, she's trying to take care of all her kids by herself. Now she has one job. Then she gets two jobs. Now she got two jobs and a part-time job. How often is she at home depositing in her children? Her children are growing up faster because of the lack of presence. And this is not to shame her, but this is the real picture of what happens when moms go to work. When moms go to work, less is deposited at home. When men nurture, less is deposited financially. And very few people can do both. Most people, when they lean in one direction, they're leaning away from another direction, and vice versa. So as a healthy minded person, as a woman, you have to look and say, would I rather have a nurturing man for a husband, or would I rather a man go out here and get this money so we can have a good life on the financial end? I will take care of the nurturing part. Or can you be an adult and say, I want a nurturing man, and I am okay with living within our means and understanding we might only make 30 to 50,000 a year. We'll have to live modestly, or live within our means. I would rather live like that and have what I need. I need a husband that comes home, by 5 o'clock every day. I don't want a husband that's leaving for days at a time just to make more money, picking up more shifts. I need him at home helping. And that's fine. But you can't say, I want him home more, and then emasculate the man for producing less money, not realizing that's what it was going to cost when you asked him to be home more. Everything we ask for in life comes with a sacrifice. And the downside is most men understand the sacrifice. Most women do not. And that's why the argument is still persisting in this day and age compared to decades ago, is that men can lay it out like, if you're doing this, this will take the hit. Women don't like to hear that, but it's the reality. And that's how you know that a lot of women do need to be under the care of a man, because that logic is necessary. They need it. And a lot of women don't like to be logical. It offends us, but it's realistic. And if you don't think about the consequences, if you don't think about the sacrifice of your decisions, you're going to always find out when you're already suffering, instead of calculating that in advance, which is typical of us as women. We go into situations and we hit our head, and they'd be like, oh, well, I just thought, you know what I mean? Because we're not looking as far ahead as what we need to be looking at maturity. And we need to be, especially if we're parents. So it's like we're signing up for marriage and don't really know what marriage means. We don't really know what it entails. We don't know how much of a responsibility that is. That's why most women come into marriage and they run out of marriage just as quick, because the responsibilities start stacking, and they're used to being able to do whatever, whenever, at anybody's, at whatever, at your leisure. And then you realize you don't get to make those type of decisions anymore because you have sacrifices you need to make. And you don't want to make those sacrifices. You didn't understand those sacrifices were on the way from the moment you said, I do. Men get it. That's why they don't divorce as much, because they understand what they're getting themselves into most of the time. And so it unfortunately, it becomes it's a difficult conversation to have because of how we think. And women think this type of conversation tends to mean that one gender is better than the other. No, it just means we have different responsibilities for different reasons. And that is okay. And as long as we can understand that and give it room, things will always be effective. but we're trying to fight the way things run smoothly and create something else. And we're seeing the results of that. Statistically speaking, children are more unruly in school than ever now. And I promise you that's in alignment with fathers not being in the homes and a high amount of single moms. It's not about fault. It's just these things are running parallel with each other. And it's something to sit up and take notice. Somebody made a comment not too long ago, and then I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, and said, like, if poly doesn't work out or whatever, like, you're gonna be a single mother. And I was like, see, that's where you're mistaken. Me being single does not make me a single mother. If for whatever reason this relationship didn't work out, which I don't assume that it will, my son will always have a devoted father. I will never be a single mother. And I'm like, I don't like that term being used for women who have an active father in their life. Being a single mother means you're doing it without. If you have a father paying child support, if you have a father that's being active in the child's life, you are not alone. So it's like using that phrase is disrespectful. So for anybody to say that if, like, my relationship didn't work out or whatever, that I would be a single mom. No, I wouldn't. I would be single. I wouldn't be a single mom. There is a distinction between the two. And I think that as women, because we carry the children, we at the very least should know that if this doesn't work out, I have a hell of a father for my child. That means even if we don't work out, I got my child everything that they require. And that's enough to be proud of. That's something that you should be proud of. Yeah, relationships don't work out, and you can't control that. But it is an accomplishment to say, even through the storm of separation, even through the storm of breaking up, my children still have a good father. If you still have that, you shouldn't be walking around saying that you're a single mother, because that's disrespectful to his contribution. I think that men and women alike are they're required. We're required. And once you have a kid, it's the symbolism behind it. Once you have a kid, you're saying it's me and you for the rest of life, whether you're married or not, whether you want to be together or not. You guys literally have to come together in harmony for the sake of that child, regardless of how you feel about the person you created the child with. So everything needs to be on the up and up. Provision, nurture, communication, doing your shadow work, all of that stuff. Because now everything you say, everything that you do impacts another person. And it's not about like starting a sentence with "I want" after you become a parent is crazy. Like, that's cool. You may want that, but is it best for your home? Is it best for your child? And that's a difficult situation to be in. A lot of women have difficulty with that, realizing that they just can't have it all. You know what I mean? And it can be a very big wake up call when you become a mom, when you become a wife, that's not how life works. Unfortunately, we are raised to think that that's how life works, and that makes the shock and awe of those transitions for us substantially harder, because we're expecting it to still be a world where we can just get whatever and have whatever and be entitled. And it's not. You make sacrifices in this life. When you're a wife, you make sacrifices, you make compromises. When you're a mother, you make sacrifices, you make compromises. I probably have been, no, I don't want to say probably. Since my son was born, I eat after him on every occasion. Like I forfeited my right to eat before him. You don't expect that until it's there, If one of us gets to sleep, he gets to sleep, And so I saw a TikTok video, and it was an interviewer saying, what's the hardest part about becoming a mom? And she said, there's no more autonomy. Like, she's like, there's no more you time, really. She was like, and I have hobbies, I have things that I want to do, and I have all these things. And she's like, and it's not that I can't do it, it's just like there isn't enough time. And I agree with that. I mean, I agree with that, but I also believe that you have to make time because that's how you replenish yourself. But I understood what she meant by making the statement. And it's true. Like, when I gotta go to the bathroom, if he's not in the mood to let me go by myself, he going with me. If I gotta take a shower, sometimes he in his seat in the bathroom while I take a quick shower. Like, sometimes that's just what it is, but so yeah, like your life literally changes, and you're two as one, three as one if you're, in a committed relationship. And it's different. It's an adjustment. But if you understood what was required of you before you got in, it's substantially easier than feeling like things are being taken from you. If you feel like things are being taken from you, it says that you didn't have a clear understanding of the expectations of what you chased after. You wanted to be a mom, but you didn't realize you can't just pick up and run out with your friends no more. You gotta diaper bag, car seat. There's places you can't go inside because you have a kid, and you don't think about that. Um, and that's why you have to be ready and really understand the responsibility and the expectations behind that. Now, see, a lot of people, tease me because I was late. I had my child in my 30s, and so they're like, you waited really late. I'm like, but that might be the case, but I am the most mentally sound I have ever been. And I think that if I would have been 10, 15 years younger having a child, the transition that I went through with my son would have been a lot harder, as opposed to this was everything I expected it to be. It was challenging, but there was an honor about doing it that made me not feel the way I hear other people feel in that same situation. So I think that women are going to be women. We're going to do things differently. We're going to have different expectations. But I think it's all about how we prepare for the lives that we say, for the life and experiences that we say we want. And we need to know what we're getting into beforehand instead of getting into it and then feeling beat up by it and not understanding why. You see what I'm saying? We have to get more realistic with our expectations. That way we could be ready for what's to come. And there will always be a little bit of control that we don't have when it comes to that, and stuff that you're not ready for. But stuff like, what to expect around motherhood and a wife, and nowadays we haven't even seen it within our own parents more often than not. So it's like we really, really don't know. You know what I mean? So I think it's beneficial for us to know. And I think that I like the question asking, if since I had my son, my perspective changed, because a lot of people expected it to. A lot of people was like, wait till you have your own baby, just watch. I don't feel any different. And I knew I wouldn't, because I've actually spent a lot of time um, just thinking about it. Louisa says, that's great. You have all the answers. And I don't have all the answers. I just have my opinion. And so far, my opinion has served me well. I don't have all the answers. But again, I have my opinion. I had thoughts that I had a long time ago. And like I said, those thoughts have served me well. And I'm happy that they have. That doesn't mean that there's empathy lacking for women that have gone through different things. Um, that doesn't mean that there isn't accountability for those same women either. I have areas of accountability myself. That just comes with maturity at the end of the day. And that's life. Um, I will accumulate some more answers. I've only been a mom. I've been a mom for less than 2 years. And I will learn more as time goes on. If I have another child, then I'll learn what life looks like being a mother with two children and how it feels, how the mental load and all of that is going to increase again with another child, you know? So all of that is true, you know, and you can't know until you're in it with some stuff, but there's a lot of research we can do ahead of time. You know what I mean? And I think listening to the conversation that most of us have around being wives and moms, I think that's the biggest truth is that most of us didn't know what we were getting into it before we got into it. And that's why the reactions are what they are. Um Now everybody's entitled to their opinion, including myself. And there will be people that disagree. I have no problem with that. I think that we're all grown, and if you disagree and say, even if you know what you're getting into, you're still going to be hit with a left hook. Completely possible. I know that um, I thought about things ahead of time, and I had my son, and still got hit with a few surprise things that unfolded, and I feel like I handled them better than what I expected myself to handle it just because of that, you know, the perspectives that I have. But again, that's just me and a reflection of how I've been raised and the women that I saw do this before me. And I think that that's something that's important as well. I think that our demonstration makes a difference. How do you hold yourself accountable as a wife when your career overshadows your wifely duties? How do you hold yourself accountable as a wife when your career overshadows your wifely duties? Um, I think if you're saying holding yourself accountable to your husband, I would say acknowledge that. I would say sitting down with him and saying that I understand that what you need from me, what you require from me, oftentimes cannot be met because for me or lately, or, you know, I've been distracted or my career comes first. And I have to find a better balance, or I would like to have a discussion about how I could better balance this out and see that your needs are met as well. I think ignoring it is the worst thing you can do. I think shaming him for making him feel like he's doing something wrong by giving a voice to what's lacking is wrong and inconsiderate. So I think a conversation should be had. And I'm like, you know, I'm not a stranger to that as well. I'm a very focused person. So when I'm handling my business, I tend to get very tunnel vision. And it's like if I have a companion that requires a lot of attention during that time, they may feel neglected. And that's something you have to know about yourself as far as being accountable for who you are and how you show up in the room. Sometimes we like to boast about our characteristics. You know, I'm blunt, you know, and I like to, you know, shoot it straight. But we don't know the negatives that come along with that. You can accept that you're blunt, but you don't realize that on the other side of being blunt, other people may receive you as harsh and hurtful. So you can say, you know, I'm very ambitious. You know, I got a lot of drive, which is a beautiful trait. But on the other side of that, if you have a partner that requires a lot of quality time, requires a lot of um, intimacy, during the time when you're being ambitious, you may be neglecting your person. And that's a hard thing to hear, that they feel neglected at your times where you're being most driven. But if you can have clarity and say, this is when I feel the best about myself, but I'm taking something from him when I feel at my best. I have to now sit with myself and be in accountability and ask myself which one is more important to me, feeling good about my career or feeling good about my marriage. And because depending on where you're putting more of your energy, you may be demonstrating to him you care more about your career than your marriage, and that'll be difficult to hold your marriage together, and he's getting that type of energy from you. So a conversation definitely needs to be had. Otherwise, he may make the decision for you. Oftentimes, I feel like I'm neglecting him, and I often have a dialogue with him about our home life and how we often prioritize our work lives than quality time. Absolutely, you guys definitely, get a structure together. See if you can offset your schedules, try and work in the same space as each other. Like sometimes I know me and my husband, like I'm in the middle of trying to, work on writing. And so, sometimes like, he's doing something on his phone and I'm sitting next to him and I'm doing something on my laptop. That can still be considered quality time if you and your partner accept it that way, as opposed to you being in the living room and him being in the bedroom or he in the office and you doing something somewhere else. Or set up a date night where we pour ourselves into our work, but every Friday or every other Friday we make sure we turn our phones off, close the laptops, and give each other 2 hours of undivided attention, and we take a night on the town with each other. It's about being intentional, you know what I mean? And that's how you carry everything. Ask yourself about your job. Do I really need to put in all these extra hours to get what I'm trying to get done? Or can I do this on a part-time schedule and put more energy into my husband? You know what I mean? These questions need to be asked, because if you're not careful, something's going to take the hit. It's because jobs require all of your attention to be successful. They require you to sacrifice everything else. A marriage requires the same. Parenting requires the same. They require all of you, and you to prioritize it as at the top, to be efficient. When you put other stuff in the way, you're signing up saying, like, I know it takes 100% to get an A, but I'm gonna give you a B. Then I'm gonna put a C over here. Then I'm gonna put D effort over here. That's the only way you can, because you can't give three things 100%. One thing is going to get 100%. The other things are going to get less. You see that in your household. If you're pouring into your children and pouring into your husband, you will forget to fold the laundry. You'll be looking around like, I didn't even do the dishes. Somehow you have to learn how to structure, and your time management has to be on point. But if you have a full-time job and then you have your husband full-time, then you have small children, of course you feel overwhelmed. You have three areas that are trying to demand 100% of you, and you require something for you too on top of those other three things. You see what I'm saying? And it's like at that point, you realize you have too much on your plate. So you have to work on time management and making sacrifices somewhere and pouring everything into the most important places in your life, because you will retire from work. Hopefully your husband is there beyond that. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys for chilling with me today. I went way over, but I appreciate these conversations, and I'm trying to get to know you guys as well. I had YouTube online, so I wanted them to kind of get a little feel for who I am as a person as well. I appreciate you guys for being with me for our Q&A tonight. I thank you guys for your participation, your questions, your comments, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another live. I do not know if it will be Q&A, but I will let you guys know. Just keep an eye on the comment section, and I'll see you guys soon. You guys have a wonderful evening. Good night. Peace.